I'm Kirsty, I'm Commercial Director here at THSP, and I'm also one of the Behaviour-Based Safety delivery team. Over the years, I've worked in all kinds of industries, and I've learned one big thing. When we understand why people act the way we do, we can create safer workplaces. And today we'll look at how small actions can make a big difference. But before we begin, I'll ask you a question. Can you think of a time when you saw someone intervene in a safe situation and it didn't make a difference? I once saw someone jamming a fork into an electrical outlet to make a European plug work in a prospective customer's office. And when challenged, they completely ignored the challenger. Why? Because they didn't think that there would be a bad outcome for them. But the good news is, when we understand this, we can focus on reinforcing positive behaviours. And this is a perfect example of why consequences drive behaviour more than warnings alone, and help us to understand the ABC model of behaviour-based safety. And this ABC model is a simple yet effective way to understand why people behave the way they do in the workplace. And it has three key parts. A is the antecedent. This is what happens before the behaviour. An example is a supervisor reminding a worker to wear PPE before starting a task. B is for the behaviour, and this is the action taken. So choosing to wear PPE or ignoring the reminder. And C is the consequence, and this is what happens after the behaviour. So if a worker wears PPE and avoids injury, that positive outcome will reinforce the behaviour. On the other side, if a worker doesn't wear PPE and doesn't avoid injury, the negative outcome will reinforce the safe behaviour in the future. Studies show that about 20% of behaviour is influenced by antecedent. So as we covered, the antecedent is something that occurs before a behaviour and serves as a trigger or a prompt. In the context of behaviour-based safety, antecedents are the conditions, the instructions, the reminders, or the cue before a behaviour. So examples of antecedents in safety are your policies and procedures, and these outline your safe working practices, the training sessions that you hold that inform your workers of the correct way to perform a task, the warning signs or labels that could potentially highlight risks and hazards on your equipment, supervisors reminding teams to wear PPE, and pre-task safety briefings that highlight potential risks. And while antecedents provide guidance, studies show that about 80% of behaviour is driven by consequences. People are far more likely to repeat actions that result in positive outcomes or avoid those that result in negative outcomes. So by understanding that consequences have a far greater impact on behaviour than policies and procedures alone, we can focus on reinforcing positive behaviours and ensuring safe actions are consistent and recognised. So your key takeaways from this first section are: use antecedents to guide safe behaviours, but reinforce positive consequences to make actions a safe habit. By combining both, we can create safer workplaces where people naturally choose those safer actions. And behaviour-based safety is all about understanding why people behave the way they do at work and how we can use that knowledge to create those safer environments. Instead of just reacting to accidents, behaviour-based safety encourages us to be proactive, so observing and reinforcing positive safety behaviours, reporting near misses, understand why unsafe actions and near misses happen, and then address them before it leads to an accident, and creating a culture where people feel safe to speak up and intervene when they see a potential hazard. HSE studies show that around 90% of workplace accidents are not due to a lack of knowledge, but rather human behaviour. People take risks because they believe they're saving time. They've done it before without an issue. People often feel pressured by deadlines or workplace expectations, and they are influenced by what others are doing around them. If unsafe behaviours go unchallenged, they can become part of your workplace culture. And if you walk past an unsafe act, you have accepted that standard, no matter how low it is. And then the new lower standard in your organisation is set. You must lead from the front. And our goal is to break that cycle by promoting and reinforcing safe actions through behaviour-based safety. So key practical takeaways today. Spot the risks by taking 60 seconds before you start a task to assess the potential hazards, because every time you do something, the hazards around you could be different. Speak up if you see something unsafe, intervene politely, but always constructively, and encourage safe habits. Make safety part of those everyday conversations that you have. Don't wait until an accident happens to address those unsafe behaviours. And safety leadership isn't just for managers. We all have a role to play. Whether you're a supervisor or you're frontline, you can influence those around you. And you can lead by example by creating a workplace where people feel comfortable reporting hazards or unsafe practices without fear. And that's a high level of psychological safety. And you can role model safe behaviours because people mimic what they see. And when you demonstrate safe behaviours, others will follow. So lead by example, be the person others follow by making safety a priority, and encourage conversations. Ask one colleague today about a safety concern and then discuss a solution. And our mindset, stress levels and emotions can impact our decisions and risk perception. We all know that when we're not feeling our best, we don't make the best decisions. So a positive safety conscious attitude can reduce complacency and improve focus. And that's through an awareness of your mindset and focus. You've got to make sure that you're managing your stress and fatigue, because when you're stressed or exhausted, our reaction times are slower, and this can make accidents more likely to happen. And also consider those gender perspectives in safety. Workplace experiences vary, and PPE to manual handling tasks and work environments should be designed to fit all workers' need, making working safely easier than not. Because if you feel that your safety isn't being looked after, you're not going to be in the best mindset, and you may make decisions that are not the best. So practical takeaways are always pause and reset, and you can share these with your teams. Take a deep breath and mentally check in before starting a high risk task. Always support each other. If you notice a teammate looking tired or stressed, check in with them. And do your processes, and does your PPE enhance or hinder your safety culture? It's always time for a review, and that review should be done with the people who are actually doing the job. You should avoid creating blanket policies, and they should always be applicable. I once worked with a team where they had a mandate that you always had to wear gloves and you always had to wear a hard hat. And these were for tasks where having gloves on was just hindering what they were doing. With a quick review, they looked at it with their teams and they replaced the gloves that they were using. That meant that everybody was safer. And that's part of building a culture of safety, but it does take ongoing effort and time. And we need to make sure that when we're building these safe cultures, that we're challenging those unconscious biases that may have an effect on safety decisions. You know, a colleague assuming that a routine task is low risk because they've seen it done safely many times before, even when hazards are present. I'm sure you've all seen those videos on social media of a gentleman standing on a crane that they swung out from around the side of the building. And I'm sure he decided that was low risk on that morning. You can also make sure that you're encouraging that open dialogue where everyone feels comfortable reporting concerns, and providing equal opportunities for training and leadership roles, and celebrating those diverse perspectives to improve safety and processes. So what's one thing you could do today to support a safer workplace? You could start a safety check-in, ask your team about safety concerns and see how you can address them. And recognise contributions, acknowledge a colleague's positive safety action today. And one of the most powerful elements of behaviour-based safety is language. And when we're trying to improve our safety culture, using that language and how we communicate about safety can absolutely influence attitudes and behaviour. So positive reinforcement is a big one. Instead of saying, don't forget your PPE, you would say, let's make sure we all have the right PPE before we start. And encouraging open dialogue rather than going, why did you do that? You could try, what happened here? How could we prevent it next time? And inclusive language, be mindful of how your words can impact other people, and use language that includes everyone being encouraged and that team-based safety is everyone's responsibility. So make sure that you're always using encouraging language, frame safety messages in a way that inspires action, and ask open-ended questions. Create conversations that lead to solutions, not blame. And I will always go with the old adage of I would speak to someone in the way that I would like to be spoken to. And everyone makes mistakes. So just make sure that we're just thinking about that when we're talking to people. So as we come to the close of this Toolbox talk, we can recap the key takeaways here. Safety is a team effort. Our behaviours shape our work environment, and everyone has a role to play in speaking up and leading by example. So before we finish, let's just take a moment to reflect. And I'd like you all to just think and write down what's one positive safety step you could make today. And it might be something simple, but it could make all the difference. So commit to one thing that you will do differently today to improve safety and just make a note of it. Some examples are, I will take 60 seconds before starting a task to assess the risks. Or I will encourage a colleague to speak up about a safety concern. I will recognise and appreciate safe behaviours within my team. I will take the time to review one health and safety policy document with my team. By committing to these small actions, and no matter how small they are, we can help build a safer, stronger workplace for everybody. I hope you've enjoyed today's session. It truly was a whistle-stop tour through behaviour-based safety. However, if you want to learn more, THSP will be running some behaviour-based safety courses in the future, and you can drop your email address in the chat, or you can respond to the marketing email that you've got and we can send you over some details. Those courses will really dive deeper into that ABC model that we've talked today about, and also the language that you use in safety and encouraging people to speak up as part of that psychological safety. Thank you very much for your time today. If you did have any questions, I'm happy to answer them now, or you can drop me an email afterwards. My email address is nice and simple. It's kirsty@THSP, so the health and safety people, thsp.co.uk. Oh. Thank you. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a good day. And if you need anything, just drop me that email, or you can always ring me on our switchboard as well. Have a good day. Thanks. Bye.